Good morning. All right. So here we are once again, and so we have a guest with us today. Yeah, her name's
Yay.
Bethany, um,
Hey.
and we are excited to talk to her. So, and we may have another uh, person join if he's not fashionably late. He's already fashionably late, but we may have somebody else join. But anyway, so today what we want to do is we want to hear from Bethany, kind of get her perspective because I think it's important, and I know she'll explain more about it here in a minute. But me and Jason here are just to kind of be, um, try to, investigate or not investigate. What's the word, Jason? Uh,
Facilitate.
Facilitate. Yeah. Um, the conversation to make sure that we get all the information out of Bethany that we can. Um,
Want to pepper her with questions.
yeah, yeah, but I think it's going to be good for you, Bethany, because you get a chance to uh, go back later and listen to yourself and
Yeah.
and see the change. I know you've probably experienced a lot of change already, but a lot more change coming. So it's amazing what this process does to people. And but anyway, I'll go. What I want you to do, and kind of said this a little bit. We just want to hear from you, your
Mhm.
perspective. Kind of give some background as much as you want, and then just kind of talk about how you got in the project. We'll jump in. We'll interrupt you. We're really good at
Yeah.
that. Um, all right.
All right.
Go ahead.
Well, I've been involved in church, on and off my whole life and everything. I kind of, as a family, we kind of fell out of that and just started going every now and then. Um, and whenever I turned, I think 11, I was invited to the church that I currently go to and everything. And it was a really great experience that first time, and I was like, I think I like this. I'm gonna stick with it. So I've been going there for about 12 years ish now, just consistently. So it's been awesome, and I've tried to be involved as much as possible in the youth group. Any events we had, I was there. Um, I put myself in the choir and joined that, and I just really wanted to be as involved as possible. And when I hit 18, when I graduated from high school, um, I knew God was calling me to stay, involved in the youth, to have an impact there. And so I did, and I've been counseling youth ever since. Um, and it's just been a great journey there. Uh, but in the past 2 years, I just had this feeling of like, there's more. There's more to this that I'm just not quite getting yet. And I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how to do more. And so um, these two people came in, Mike and Melissa. They joined the church, and it was it was like, okay, cool. We have some new people here, and oh, they want to get involved. That's pretty cool. So they helped us out with a fundraiser, and that was awesome. And then it was just like this wave of, them wanting to kind of have a change in the church, and so I was like, hey, I like that. I like that idea. They started doing the discipleship classes with a group of men in our church, and they were going through it, and I saw how those men were changing within just a few months of that, and I was like, okay,
Okay,
that's
so
pretty
I'm
cool.
going to stop you right there. So when you
Yeah.
say changing, what do you kind of elaborate on that?
So it was like, I don't know, they were like more on fire, more willing to tell other people in the church that, hey, this is a really cool thing. And once once we get through it, we really want everyone else to join. I mean, within 4 months, they were already saying we want another class to start after we're done, after we've gone through the process and learned the strategy and all that. We want to see another group come in, and so I was looking forward to that for a while after that, and it was just like they were they were more involved in the sermons on Sundays. They were more involved in the sermons on Sunday nights as well, and yeah, it was just like a really big
Okay.
switch. So yeah.
Did their this is an odd question, but maybe it's noticeable. Did their language change?
Oh
Did
yeah.
the way they talked about things change?
Yes. It's I don't know how to quite explain it,
Mm.
but it was just like I don't know, whenever you were talking to them, they always had a way to I don't know, intersect with God in the conversation. You could be talking about fishing and they're just like, "Oh yeah, it's awesome how," and just throw in how God,
Hmm.
provided for them when they were fishing and it was just really cool. Whereas, before they might have been like, "Oh yeah, we had a lot of luck." Instead of saying we had a lot of luck that day, God really provided for us that day. And it's just like their whole perspective changed on
Interesting.
who was giving them that
Yeah,
that luck. So,
Huh.
nice,
yeah.
Good.
nice.
Hopefully, I didn't throw you
Yeah.
off your groove. Go continue.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Mm,
Um so they were going through the process, going through the strategy, and then Bill, you came the first time. I think that was November, I think.
Uh,
Somewhere around that
yeah,
time.
October, November.
Yeah. Yeah. Um and you came in and uh I remember whenever I was talking to you at lunch that Sunday, you apologized to me for Mike, and you were just like, you've really dealt with him a while now, and I'm, in my head, I'm like, yeah, he's a funny guy,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Sorry.
and so
Mm.
so I knew then I was like, okay, this is pretty cool because you had started talking about, the different people who have gone through the process, and
Mm,
you talked more about Herb Hodges and um, how he impacted your life, and that was really cool to hear, and you could see, you know, just how much he did
mm,
impact you and the other people that you were with, and it was just really cool to see that. And then in February, it was like all the way from whenever you visited first to February, whenever, you and the whole group um, came, I was so excited. I was like, dude, this is it.
yeah.
This is what I've been praying for,
Mm,
because for about 2 years, um, I've been just like, I want to do more, but I don't know how.
mm,
I wanna make an impact, but I don't know how. And here was the how. Here's how you
mm,
do it.
mm.
Here's the strategy. And it was just like this huge curtain was just pulled back um, off of my eyes, and it was just awesome. And ever since then, I've been on fire. I've been, you know, reading more. I've been studying more. Um, I've been trying to get as many people that I think will stay in the strategy, stay in the process, um, to join so that we can kind of make a bigger wave in Hudson. So, yeah,
That's good. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, I like the way you say you pull back the curtains for you,
yeah,
and I remember that. I remember that moment in my own life
yeah.
when the curtain gets pulled back, and I don't know if you were like me or not, but you know I'm very zealous, and so I try to talk about things I don't know what I'm talking about, and
Yeah.
and all I do is come out talking like "Wah, wah, 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 wah,
Yeah.
wah, 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 wah," and people are just like, what?
Yeah.
Uh,
I came home from the first night that y'all were there. here. And I was talking to my mom, and she was looking at me like I was crazy. She was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Look, mom, it's super cool. Okay, there's this thing. Here's how we do it, and I just didn't know how to fully put it into words. So she's kind of understood a little more now, but
Yeah, yeah. But
yeah,
it gets better. It gets better. You
yeah,
find the vocabulary and you find
yeah,
the way to explain things. But
yeah.
so, how from where you are right now? I mean, um, to kind of explain, I guess you said the curtain was pulled back. So what do you now? What are you seeing? What do
I'm
you?
seeing like I'm seeing how we've been doing things. We as in the church, the church that I attend isn't the biggest church in the world, It's a smaller church, and that's not a bad thing, but I've watched it get smaller and smaller, and in my head I was like, "Man, I don't know. I don't know how to reverse this. I don't know how to get more people to come and everything." And um, then that's when y'all came and that curtain was pulled back. I was like, we haven't been making disciples.
Mm,
That's the whole thing. We've just been saying, hey, it's good to see you today, which it is good to see people on Sundays, but
Right.
um, it's just like they're a little raindrop lost in an ocean kind of deal. We never invest in that raindrop to make a bigger impact.
right.
And so, they go somewhere else where maybe they can get a closer bond, which is great. I mean, you should strive to find somewhere to grow, but it would be great if, my home church was that place to grow. And so, I realized in that moment when that curtain was pulled back that we've been doing it wrong.
Mm,
It doesn't mean we're wrong,
mm-hmm.
but we've been doing it wrong.
Right.
And
It doesn't mean that the
so
people inside the church are bad or that they have
right.
ulterior motives necessarily. It's just that we're just following the model that everybody else follows,
Yeah.
and well, it works. Well, it's working well over here, so we try to do something that they're
Yeah.
doing in where we're doing, where we're working, and it doesn't work, or
Yeah.
it doesn't come to the same. And we scratch our heads to try to figure out, what, why are we not having the dynamic,
Yeah.
spirit filled people, and basically we're just chasing the wrong thing. We're chasing the wrong goal.
Yeah.
And the thing I love too is uh, there's no organization to join in this thing. It's
Yeah.
the organization or the group to join is the body of the believers.
Mhm.
Um, I don't. I love the fact that we
Man,
don't
wait a
have
minute,
to.
Bill. Why have I been sending you dues every?
That's right. Well, that you're the only one. I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
want to tell you,
That
but you're
makes
the
sense.
only one.
Okay. I gotta
Um,
have the
it's
extra
going to be
trouble.
small monthly payments. Um, but it's cool to hear your perspective, um, and I recognize a lot of what you're saying. Um,
Yeah.
and one thing that I would say to you, and I'm sure you'll probably hear it about 50 million times from me because I am getting old and my memory is what I forget with, and I forget I tell you. Um, but where you are now is just a glimmer of where you're going to be.
Yeah.
And what you're experiencing now is a fraction of the contentment and joy and passion you're going to feel. Uh,
Yeah.
when I say that, what does that do? What it was?
Oh man, I'm so excited. I'm
Do you believe me, or
if
you
this is
think I'm
just
just full of it?
I believe you. I believe you. Yeah. 'Cause I mean, what I feel now is just, excited and all that, but I think about, when I get through this whole process and, really learn the strategy and keep studying that, I'm like, man, that's so cool. I could have a real big impact. And that's just it's exciting, it's terrifying, but it's so exciting.
Yeah, bigger than you understand.
Yeah.
Much bigger than you understand.
So Bethany, there was a couple things you said as you were telling your story, and I just kind of want to kind of point it out, maybe poke it a little bit,
Mhm.
and ask you a question about you. You said at 11 you decided you want to go to this other church. How did you get there? Did your parents take you, or is this when an
Well,
11-year-old deciding they want to go to
I had
church? And,
I had a neighbor, we're real good friends with him even still today, invited me to to church, and we have a children's program called Awanas at our
yeah,
church, and she invited me, and she was like, "It's water night. It's gonna be super fun." And I'm like, "Oh, well, it's water night. That's
yeah,
cool."
right.
You know, and she said there's gonna be pizza there, and of course you tell any kid there's gonna be pizza there.
Oh yeah,
That's uh so I went and I was like, "Okay, there is pizza. There is a water slide. I see that." But we had to go through a class first.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know, we had to learn about Jesus first, cause church, you know?
yeah,
Um, and so we were going through that, and, um, it was I don't know, it was like, for the first time, I was like, "Okay, I knew of God." I knew, you know,
yeah,
again, we had been going to church and everything, but I was a kid, I never really fully paid attention, you know, I was
yeah.
coloring in a little bulletin during most services as a child, so,
Right.
um whenever I went that Wednesday, you know, they sat us down in this little small group in one of the rooms upstairs, and they were talking about I think they were talking about, you know, one of the pillars of children's ministry, Noah
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
the ark
The
and all that. And
version of it.
again, I had seen the little children's books with all the animals' heads sticking out of the boat and everything, you know, the cute little yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they read it straight from the Bible, and I was like, I don't remember
That
that
sounds
part,
a
but
little
that's really
different.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And so I was like, dude, God did that.
Hmm.
You know, that's really cool. And then we finally got to the water part, and I was like, oh, this is really cool too, you know? And so um from then on I fell in love immediately with the people of the church. And they were just so loving, so welcoming, and I was like, I can dig it. I
yeah,
can stay here, you know?
yeah.
That's got my
And then
friends around and
fast forward so many years, and you said I put myself in choir. I heard you say I put myself in the
yeah.
choir. Most
Yeah,
people, they
so
go through a process. You're like, no, I'm doing it. Like
yeah.
your motivation was high.
Um yes. They, you know, I went to church for the first time on a Sunday, and one of our um deacons, he's an elder of the church, Brother Marvin, he came up to me and he said, "Hey," again, first Sunday, he didn't even know my name. I didn't know who he was, you know, and he comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, I love you. God loves you, and I'm glad you're here." And I was like, "Okay, you got me sold. I'm here.
Yeah, that's
You know,
awesome.
this is the place." And I listened to the choir that Sunday, and I was like, "Dude, that's so pretty.
Hmm.
That is so cool." And I think that was the first time that I really fell in love with worship. Um, and even today, I mean, that's and when I say this, I don't want you to think, "Oh, well, the sermon isn't good," but sometimes I'll get more out of worship than I do a sermon. You know, it's just that's just how I hear God speak to me, and um, a lot of worship music obviously comes straight from the Bible. Some of the lyrics do, and it's just it's a powerful method of praise.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I was like, I want to be able to help people worship because you know
Makes
that
perfect sense to
impacted
me.
me
I have a
so
daughter your
much.
age that does the same thing. So yeah, she's the same way.
Yeah,
We got close to the same age,
yeah,
and she leads worship at our church, and that's how she spends most of her time with the Lord. That's what she
yeah.
does. So I get that. So
And
the
I
question
mean,
I had, I wanted to prompt you to, but I hear you're pretty highly motivated. Like when you see something, you respond very quickly. And I was kind of the same way when I came to church. When I got saved, it was like something was going on. I was involved, and I realized pretty quickly, if you want to work in the church, they'll let you. and they'll keep giving it to you, and they'll keep adding on to it, and
Yeah.
before long you're doing everything. And for me, I don't know your experience, but for me, after a couple of years of that, I started realizing everything that I'm doing is really not, it's not biblical. It's not that it's not biblical, but it's like what I see Jesus doing and what I see me doing in the church building is not the same, right? And so I started seeing a disconnect, and I started getting a little frustrated, and I think that was probably the beginning of that cry out to God. Hey, there's got to be more than this. Kind of what you were saying.
Yeah.
There's got to be more. Did you feel that way? Is like over time you just started kind of getting a little bit of discontentment, or
I did. I did. It was almost just like a frustration of, well, I'm standing up there on the stage singing. You get a good view of who all is in the crowd,
Yeah.
and watching that dwindle, and you notice, oh well, this section is pretty empty now, where so and so used to sit, and
mm-hmm.
I wonder where they went. It was just like a, I don't know, a huge frustration. And I realized, something's not right. We're missing something,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was just a lot of that. And um so that's when I really started praying, and I could tell that God was telling me, yes, there's more, but you just gotta wait a little bit. Just give me a minute, kinda. And I'm like, I don't want to give you a minute. Hold
Yeah.
on now,
I'm sitting right here.
I
Just
want to,
tell
I want
me.
to, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so I had to be patient in the Lord, and that was a lesson. But
yeah,
yeah, it was just a big frustration, and I knew there was something we could do, but I didn't know how. And
yeah.
now I'm
Couldn't quite
kind of
put your
getting an
finger on it.
idea of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I was the same way. It's like there's something missing, but I can't quite get my finger on what it is.
Mm.
Yeah,
yeah,
we find that very common with people that we start working with. That's what usually
yeah,
starts the journey. So
yeah.
So, so when you first started hearing some of this information, um, did, did it sound like confusing or um almost like, what do you guys hate the church? Or I mean, what? How did it hit you?
Well, I think the first time I really heard about strategy was from Mike over lunch. And I was really confused. I was like, "Well, what's the difference between what you're saying and what we're doing?
Mm.
What's the main difference?" And I remember asking him that, and he was like, "Well, that's kind of hard to explain because, he didn't want me to think that he was dogging on the church,
Mm.
saying, "Oh, well, the church is, wrong, and um this is what, it's supposed to be doing and all that." But it was just, I don't know, it was just like he told me it's nothing wrong with the church. It's just how we're doing it,
Mm.
or how we're not doing it rather. Um and so it took a few times of him saying that for it to really click to me, because um obviously I was been going to this church for 12 years now. So I was like, well, what's the difference? And when he showed me, or when he told me, how he went through this process, and what he was thinking, um, and then I put that together with what I was seeing with the men that were in that group that he was putting through the discipleship making group, the first round. I was like, okay, I can see that. I can see the change. I can see the difference.
Mm.
It's making a little more sense now. And do I have a full understanding of it now? No, but that's what I'm striving to get, is to really understand more. And I'm taking every chance I can to to spend time with Mike and Melissa both, and just to get more the inside scoop of it all, if you will.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Um,
yeah.
so from your point right now, What are your biggest questions?
Ooh.
Not that we're going to try to answer
Yeah.
them. I'm just,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, we might be able to answer them, but
It might give you more questions.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So my biggest question, I guess, right now would be, how is this going to impact the church? How is the church
Mm,
going to take this?
Mm.
Will they, take it with open arms, or will they just completely turn it away?
mm,
And I've yet to see that answer.
mm-hmm.
Um, pretty nervous about that answer because we've got an older church, and um, I love every single one of them, but they're more the stubborn kind of people. Again, said with all the love in the world.
Yeah.
But so that's my biggest question is like how are they going to take this?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to be accepting? Or are they going to just say, no, we've done it this way for however many years. We got this. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest one. And all the other ones kind of piggyback off of that one question
Gotcha.
for the most part.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, so has there been anything that when you hear it, you just go kind of like, no, that's not possible. I mean, come on. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I think really the only thing that I just can't wrap my head around
mm,
is having a world impact.
mm-hmm.
And when that was first said, I think by you or one of your group, someone from your group, having a world impact, I was like, no. Me? Us? I don't know about that. You got this motley crew of churchgoers that are looking crazy wanting to do all this, and now you're saying world impact? That's a lot, and um it's becoming more clear to me though that, the world impact that we could have, we might never see in our lifetime. But we probably won't see in our lifetime, but we could start that process, start that impact with every little group we can get
Mm,
by doing exactly what y'all did and go to these churches who are, who have that group of people who are just on fire for God and want more. You say, well, here's how you do it, and you show them how to do it, and that's where the world impact starts. And I think, but it's still so hard to get my head around.
yeah.
It's crazy.
So would you say that? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So you tell me whether this is
Yeah.
accurate or not. So it sounds like you're saying, I hear it, I believe it, but I don't see how in the world it's going to happen. Is that what you mean?
Ah,
Basically, yes,
Okay.
you're closing my leg.
yes.
Sorry, my cat's accosting me. He thinks he's
It's
gonna
okay. Mine's
starve.
over here. Yeah, mine's over here wanting attention too. It's all right.
He's just like, man, just stick his claws in my leg.
um,
Sorry,
that is
sorry.
probably one of the biggest ideas to get across and to
Yeah.
see. But there's some things that happen, and hopefully it will happen within the process with you that where you'll begin to see. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, now I see
Mhm.
how this is going to work. And I mean the work that's already been laid down before you um, by ourselves and others, you probably have more of a shot, probably a really good shot at seeing it happen before
Mhm.
we do, um, because the multiplication is kicking in,
Yeah.
and and the good thing about this, and to kind of answer part of your question about the church itself, and it's not just your church or the church I go to or the church Jason goes to. It's not about them getting on board with it or not, because what we're talking about is bubbling up underneath, and it's like an
Yeah.
undertow. It's not the top of the stream; it's underneath, and you see
Mhm.
the evidence of it as it rises to the top. But it's never really going to take over the the organization. It'll take over
Yeah.
the church, but not the organization of the church. Um, but I think just like you were saying, hey, I saw these guys and they were changing. You,
Mhm.
I don't know how many times I've heard that from individuals that I've had a chance to work with and impact, and uh, people will come along and say, "Wow, that person has changed," or "That
Yeah.
person has developed," or "That person is really uh, more dynamic and more passionate than I've ever seen them before." You know, uh, that that is a very common thing, and I think it's interesting that you would say that so Mike didn't have to
Yeah.
write anything in a bulletin. He didn't have to hang up a banner. He didn't have to call a special meeting. He just impacted some guys, and it starts to draw people in. Herb used to say, and he says, and he told me, he looked at me, dead in the eyes. He said, Bill, he said, when you start running in this, the very vortex of your run will suck everything in behind it that's loose. So
Wow.
that's what you're describing. So if
Yeah.
there's people out there going, God, there's more, God, there's more, um, there are more people out there that are saying that than you realize. So,
Yeah.
and I don't want to trivialize, and I'm not trivializing what you were going through, because it's very unique and
Oh yeah.
special.
Yeah.
But there are tons of people out there that are saying the
Yeah.
exact same thing, that wish they had somebody that would just show them how to do this more effectively. And
Mhm.
and that's and I don't know how this is going to hit you, but every time here, probably the last I'd say 10 years I've been doing this. When I sit down with somebody, when I'm talking to somebody about this, and they begin in the process, I tell them, I said, the reason that we're here, the reason you're sitting here, is now not for you. It's because somebody is
Mhm.
praying, God, send me somebody who will help me to understand what this is. Okay, so the reason you're in it
Mhm.
now is because somebody's praying, God, send me somebody who will show me
Yeah.
how to get in, how to do this.
Just
Do
gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, it's cool though, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's
Yeah. It is.
and it's not just in your immediate area. There's people overseas now praying, God, send me
Yeah.
somebody, and you're the answer to that. And
Yeah.
and there's people that you'll touch that we can't. There's
Yeah.
people you'll talk to we just can't. And
Mhm.
but that's part of the body fit together, working in unison, um, to accomplish the goal of world impact. Um,
Yeah.
so when I say that, I mean, you said it gave you goosebumps.
Yeah.
Do I sound like I'm
And that's
insane?
no, it's just so powerful,
Mm,
that there's someone out there praying and God is just like, "I got you. I got a person," and the thought of, I be that person,
mm,
man,
yeah,
it's that's I don't know what to say. I mean,
yeah,
that's just awesome. It's just an awesome feeling. Um, and you had said before, and I've really held on to that because the whole goal of this is not to be known. It's not to be, oh well, this real country girl from Texas is she impacted me, and that's not my goal. Um, but my goal is to impact
mm.
and never be known. That would be awesome. To God be all the glory.
Yeah,
I mean that it's just yeah,
yeah. There's no
just
greater
fumbling
grace.
over the same words. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
You
Yeah.
can see that kind of that cultural idea like scripturally, but what we're doing in the church in America mostly is just put a man on the stage and promote and
Yeah.
hang around. That just you just don't see that in the scripture. It's always been kind of
Yeah.
frustrating for me because it's really easy for the enemy just to take that person out and then just
Yeah.
wash it all away. But if you got a bunch of nobodies reproducing, how you gonna stop that? There's no way. It's
Yeah.
like a wave. Yeah.
But you can
Yeah.
also see the wisdom of God. Um, in order to get us where we need to be, sometimes He needs to sprinkle a little bit of frustration around, and and
Yeah.
and give us a little bit of and
Yeah.
God, why are you doing this to me? Why are you stonewalling me? Why do I feel like you're playing like a mouse in a maze and you keep shutting
Yeah.
doors? And God the whole time is like, I love you. I don't care that you don't understand, but I'm still going to give you what you say you want. Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's not going to come in the package you think you're gonna. We get these ideas of how it's going to come, and sometimes it doesn't come like we
Well, I
think.
Yeah.
got tickled when she said in the beginning, she said, I was praying, God, there's got to be more. And like, how does God answer that? Well, we think, well, just tell us. But if God tells us, we won't understand it. We can't understand his language. So he's got to walk us to this process to where we can actually hear what he's trying to say. And that takes time.
Mhm.
He's actually being very loving when he gives us
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
slow roads.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to tell you, but I can't tell you now because you can't hear me. So
Yeah.
we gotta walk a while. So
So how does that when and I know that I say this a lot and I say it to people and I know I probably irritate them when I say it is we really don't hear what we think we hear, or we have a real problem with hearing. Um,
Yeah.
um, when you, I mean, did you experience anything like that where you were like, I thought I was listening, but I really wasn't listening, or I thought I was understanding, but I really wasn't understanding, or have you got to that point yet?
I don't know. I really couldn't tell you if I have. If I have, I don't know that I had the wisdom to know
Mm,
that what I thought I heard isn't what I really did hear,
mm.
you know? So I'm not sure about that one.
Okay, well, that's a good
Yeah.
prompt then. Um,
Yeah.
one aspect of this whole process, like some people maybe I don't know. I'm supposing that uh, they think the more they're in this, the better they hear, right? But
Right.
the more I'm in this, the more I realize I don't hear.
Yeah.
It's pointed out to me more so than before that, and I have to really consciously make sure that I'm not just shutting something down,
Yeah.
and really hearing it. So, um,
Yeah, I think
my
the
real
separation.
go ahead.
Okay. I think the separation of, what I want and what God wants, I think that will be a huge thing in hearing what he is telling me because, sometimes we're like, "Oh yeah, I feel God telling me this," but it's really what you want and you're wanting it so bad that's what you take is from God. But what God really wants is just this completely different thing, but you're too focused on what you want.
mm, yeah,
So, I think that's gonna be the biggest thing is
Yeah, say
keeping it
that 9
separate.
times. Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, my inability to hear usually looks like this, and I'm sure it's different for everybody. But I'll be reading the passage I've read 765 times, and the 766 times I go, "Oh Lord, where have I been? How in the world did I not see that?" Like how where I look at the Lord
Yeah.
like, "I'm so sorry, I'm so slow.
yeah.
Like, forgive me. Like I just didn't see it. Like I just didn't see it." Happens all the
Yeah.
time. Happens all the time.
So,
So,
so you've taken a couple of steps into this much larger room. Um,
Mhm.
so, what do you see on the horizon for you?
I see a way to, start building a bigger group of disciples instead of people just taking up a pew,
Mm,
and instead of that, just contentment, um, of, yeah, I go to church. That's it. I go, I listen.
mm,
That's it. You know, um, and I've already seen kind of that change in some people, because you we've we've had the most shy people go through this process already, and you tell someone, oh yeah, they used to be really shy, and you're like, well, no, no they weren't, you know.
Yeah.
So I see, the possibility of just building a group that just can't shut up about God and just can't stop telling other people about him, and wanting to really disciple, other people. And I mean, I look forward big time to going with y'all to different places. And um I mean, that's, I don't know, that's really cool. And I remember telling y'all this when y'all were here in February. Um, for the past year ish, in my notes, I would just write down the word go.
Mm.
No context, no context. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. I would go back and read my notes, and I'd be like, that's, where did that come from? That didn't even have anything to do with, you know, the sermon or anything in the passage. And I would go back and read, the whatever passage we were in, and I was like, yeah, no, that, what the heck. But now I go back and I look, and I'm like, I could see that.
Mm.
The only way that whoever the passage was about, the only way that they heard about that was from someone going.
Mm.
And on their path, they might not even think about this person over here on their way to wherever they're going, but they impact them, like you said, just a vortex of things falling in behind you,
Mm.
loose loose things. I mean, that's just, I don't know, it's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
um so
Wait till you think it's powerful now. Wait till it happens.
yeah.
Wait till actually as you begin to run,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden these people start collecting around you, and you're like, oh no, that old man was not lying. Because I remember those moments of,
Yeah.
and you think, okay, why would they follow me, kind of thing, and then you're like, oh wow, it works, it works really well.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about that, so, is there any particular country or any part of the world or anything specific that God's laid on your heart?
Well, I've heard Mike talk a lot about India, and that's always been kind of a country that intrigued me. Um, that there's always been kind of a hostile environment there, and in everyone else's mind, it's like, oh yeah, I don't know about going there. It's a very different culture. But ever since, the strategy was um introduced to me, I've just had this, like, yeah, that would be pretty cool to see just how many people there are there
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
are frustrated too,
Mm-hmm.
and um I've heard a lot about Honduras as well, and that sounds, of course, in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, travel. But in the grand scheme of what God wants, it's like, dude, you could really, the same feeling that I'm feeling right now could be passed on to someone there that's just as frustrated. That's like, yeah, there's more to this, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it where I live. Um, even in the most hostile environments, there are people who are willing to stand out and stand up for,
Yeah.
what they see God
Mm-hmm.
wanting from them. So
Right.
India and Honduras have been pretty heavy on me. So
So now, I would encourage you to begin to learn about them, start
yeah.
investigating them. You know, we encourage people to study the Bible, and and that's great. You know, it's not a bad thing,
Yeah.
but we don't encourage them to study other countries or cultures.
Yeah.
And so I would, you know, if God lays places on your heart, just do some investigation. There's a lot of resources out there. You know, obviously the internet is useful, but there's Operation World, which gives you all kinds of information about it. I don't think I have a current copy of it, but
It's
Yeah.
mostly you can do it online now. It's really up to date online, so
oh, is it?
you can go
Okay,
every day. They'll have like a country a day, yeah,
yeah,
but you can
Yeah.
investigate certain ones.
but
I came across this internet picture the other day, and it's kind of dominated my thinking for quite some time now.
oh wow, what is that?
Um,
The red area is 50% of the world's population,
Wow, that's India and
and that
China.
includes two countries, and both
it's
of them are
crazy.
95% or less or more. I mean, unbelievers. They don't know the gospel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff. We're talking about getting moving. You talking about go written down. Like go is great. I mean, your intention by going is
Yeah.
really what the key. But honestly, when you start moving, like it's amazing. Like Bill was talking about, you start running, like people will be sucked in because there's nobody really moving in the church. So when someone starts to move a little bit, they're like, well, "What are you doing?" I mean, they're just
Yeah.
it's so contrary to what they've been doing for so long. It really stands you out. You don't have to make a big
Yeah.
fanfare about it. You just start moving,
Yeah.
and people will come around you, and they're like, "What are y'all
Well, and
doing?"
yeah, I saw that happen just in the church. Mike and this little group of men were moving, and
Yeah.
you could see that, and it just I was one of those people that was sucked in,
Yeah,
it's just it's very cool as they went, as they're going.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
How many people have just been pulled into it already. So,
Well, you ask a question, how does this, and you were just kind of asking, arbitrary questions. How does this impact my church, or how does this impact the church
mhm.
that I go to? And one of the criticisms we get a lot is, well, you're just missions. You're just about missions. You're not ever about, you're never about America. You're never about, your local setting and all that. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. If you don't, if you don't impact the world, you'll never impact home. The best way to
Yeah.
impact home is to impact the world because you live at home, obviously. And so as you're impacted by impacting the world, then you begin to impact your surrounding, not in a oh, I'm going to make a plan to impact. No, it just happens because
Yeah.
what's oozing out. You're as you're running, you're just dropping $100 bills everywhere. You know, it's just
Yeah.
so much is collected inside of you, and God's just gushing it out of you, and people are just like, wow, look at and you begin to impact. If you found somebody that was dropping $100 bills every time they moved around, you'd be following them
Yeah.
around a lot too,
I'm going around every day.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, for me, as we started chasing the world, you talk about India. I mean, 1.3 billion people
Mm,
in India.
Yeah.
Like that motivates me because over
Mhm.
a billion of them people don't even know the name of Jesus. So, like, how do I reach them? I can't go individually to each one of those persons. So I've got to have a strategy to get there. That's what drives me. And God looks at that and goes, "Oh, there's a guy. I'm willing to drop $100 bills all around him because he's not taking them up
Yeah.
and sticking them in his pocket. He's handing them out
yeah.
as he gets them."
Yeah.
So God's like, that I can endorse.
Yeah.
Yes, I know you're hungry. You'll survive. I promise.
I apologize for coughing. I've been fighting uh, the death in my chest. So,
Yeah.
um,
The allergies here are crazy. It's so I'm with you there.
um, um,
Do you want to be on camera? Is that the problem?
so I would encourage you to do one thing that I did early on, and I after a while it became impossible to do. But the first, if you get a chance to go internationally, Um,
Mhm.
Something that I did probably the first 3 or 4 trips that I went on is I would journal. I would journal, and then when I come home, I compiled it and edited it and put it in a document that you could
Yeah.
actually give to people. And that's what I used to do with people would give to me. I would write my journal and then I would compile it. Then I give it to them as a thank you for supporting me. And
Yeah.
um, that has become more valuable to me to see the transformation of where I was to where I have ended up. And I would encourage you to do that. That's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I wanted to capture, you know, your state of mind and state of being at this moment,
Yeah.
because I think this is going to be beneficial for you later, as God willing, you develop in this, and I mean the need for people like you are like I don't think we can calculate the need.
Yeah.
Um, that's one of the things we've been praying for, because we minister to uh, leaders, but we don't have the capacity um, to witness to not witness to but to impact the women of those cultures. um, and there's been some uh, people that we've impacted. They show up to our little conference, and they have a Gideon's New Testament, and they have the only Bible in their village.
Wow.
Yeah, so that tells you what they get. Can you
Yeah.
imagine what the ladies get?
Yeah.
Nothing. So
Nothing.
so, and we can speak to them, but when it comes from another female, that's when it's really really impactful. So,
Yeah.
and again, some people say, well, can't you know, can a man disciple a woman or woman disciple a man? I'm like, you can, but that's fiddling with a grenade. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want
Yeah.
to,
Because it's an intimate process. I
yes,
mean, it is, and I've seen that already. Just in the very very short time that I've been involved in this. So it is. There's a difference between having a woman up there for other women to see, because I mean, in other cultures, as we know, that's just not. It's hard.
yeah, yeah. I
It's
don't
hard.
I don't know of any culture that it's like, oh yeah, you know, no,
No.
no.
Yeah,
So
we saw the contrast when we were there because the
yeah,
men went into the sanctuary at one point, and the women stayed in the fellowship hall.
yeah,
And
Oh.
we're up front teaching, and they're sitting in the pews, and then we go down where the ladies are, and there's like Deborah and Lisa and Christy, and then everybody's kind of circled around them, and they're just talking, and like
yeah,
it's just like
Yeah.
chaos to
yeah,
and they're like, just they love it, like that's how they build a relationship. So
yeah,
it's just a
Yeah.
neat dynamic of how men think versus women. So same truth, same
Yeah.
information, just the way it's processed is quite a bit
Yeah.
different. So,
So is there anything else you want to add before we quit?
Um, Not really. I mean, just I'm excited, very excited, but also intimidated, which I think is a good mix. So,
yeah,
We are excited for you, and we're glad you're feeling intimidated. So,
yes.
yeah, we are really excited for you and for everybody at the church, and hopefully we can be an assistance to you guys, um, and we're just praying that God would, have His way. So,
Thank
anything,
you.
anything you got, Jay?
I kind of chuckle. You're talking about, down the road when she gets back and watches this, you'll see the dramatic change. And we're not talking years. We're talking probably 6 months. The way
Yeah.
you're seeing things and processing things and your intentions
Yeah,
are going to be radically different in six
yeah.
months
If
versus
if you go
versus now.
overseas, yeah, it
It just ramps. Yeah.
I've said this a bunch, and overseas missions, the short-term missions that we do is probably the single best tool we have in our toolbox. It
Yeah.
it accomplishes things that just won't be accomplished any other way. Um,
Mhm.
and you
Fertilizer on the
you
ground.
you'll if you don't do the overseas missions, get out of our country. You'll the disciple making will ramp up, and it'll actually feel like it stall out. It'll stall out,
Yeah.
and it's not that it's not moving at all. It just moves very very slow. But once you
Yeah.
get out, it just takes off like a rocket. So
Yeah. I'm excited for that.
yeah, we are too. All right. Well, you all have a great day, and
Thank you. You
appreciate you
too.
being here on the early side.
Thank you,
Yeah.
All right.
Bethany. Good to talk to you.
All right.
Thank y'all. It was good talking to y'all.
All right. Bye.